Welcome to Sleep Geography, where the world unwinds at the pace of your breath. I'm glad you're here. Take a moment to settle in, find the coziest position, allow your shoulders to soften, your jaw to loosen, and your eyelids to grow a little heavier with each gentle inhale. If you'd like, share where in the world you're listening from in the comments. A quiet constellation of places, all arriving here together, ready to drift. Tonight our minds will drift to France, a land of rolling lavender and sunlit stone, of vineyard slopes and blue horizons, a country where lanes wander through ancient villages, and warm air is scented with wild herbs, softening the edges of the day. If these journeys help you rest, I'd love for you to subscribe and join this calm voyage each night. There's always another place to float to, another evening to unfurl. When you're ready, let your breath lengthen. Let your body grow still. We'll begin our gentle arrival now. You arrive from a great height, held by clear sky. Below, France rests like a wide, quiet tapestry. Edges blur, colours breathe. The land feels unhurried, and so do you. The light is warm, a soft gold that doesn't press or insist. It drapes everything with tenderness. Haze glows in the distance. Shadows are light and forgiving. You feel calm settle into your shoulders, as if the sky itself has smoothed the day. From up here, the country opens in slow, generous gestures. The long curve of coast, the deep interior of fields and river valleys, the quiet lift of mountains toward the horizon. You hover without effort. You drift without needing to go anywhere at all. You're aware of the air, gentle, warm and easy on the skin. It carries a hint of sun-warmed stone, a whisper of fields. You breathe in, and the breath feels wide. You breathe out, and the breath feels longer. The map below is not lines and borders. It is a mosaic of softness. Fields like folded cloth, forests like slow waves of green. Villages are pale constellations of stone tucked into the land's curves. Roads are threads, hardly moving, barely there. You feel a slow, steady welcome rising from below. Not the clang of arrival, a steady invitation, a sense of space. Your eyes find the south, where the light thickens into honey. There, you see it. The first sight of rolling lavender fields in Provence, creating a sea of soft purple under a warm golden sun. The colour is both bright and quiet, as if sound has become silk. Rows ripple over hills, gentle as breathing. The fields sway in undulations you can almost feel. You're drawn there, as if the purple itself is a path. The lavender moves the way the sea moves when the day is kind. Crest and hollow, crest and hollow. The scent rises to meet you. Even at this height, you can almost taste it. The gentle, warm air carrying the calming scent of lavender and wild thyme. It lingers at the edge of your awareness like a remembered lullaby. You breathe it in, something inside you loosens. Here and there, lines of cypress mark the rhythm of the land. Simple strokes of dark green standing like companions. Stone farmhouses gather in soft clusters, their roofs the colour of baked earth. Dry walls unwind through the fields like light-coloured thread. Olive groves spread their silver leaves like open palms. All of it quiet, all of it patient. You lift your gaze. Beyond the lavender, far to the east, the world rises. The distant snow-capped peaks of the French Alps stand against a clear blue sky. They look clean, crystalline, and silent. The white is almost luminous, a cool promise at the edge of warm land. The contrast is gentle, not sharp. Purple fields, golden light, and far beyond, the calm authority of bright snow-lined ridges. You float between warmth and coolness, between the scent of herbs and the clarity of high air. The sky is an easy blue, as if freshly washed, a blue that does not need to be explained. You rest in it. Your breath is slow, the day is long. Turning your attention outward, you trace the wide sweep of the country. To the west, the Atlantic lies like a deep, quiet thought, the colour of slate and pearl. Its margin presses softly against long beaches and salt marshes. The shoreline curves in a tired smile. To the south, the Mediterranean spreads in a band of clear brightness, caught in the angle of sun and water. To the north, the channel balances the map with cool light, a mirror of cloud. Rivers are silver threads drawn with a tender hand. The Seine curves like a memory, looping through the soft greys of Paris and out into the open. The Loire unfurls in grand, unhurried arcs, touching valleys where orchards and old chateaux seem to nap in the light. The Garonne and the Dordogne hold the west in a gentle embrace, and farther east the Rhône pours its clarity like a calm vein, connecting mountains to sea. You notice the texture of fields, wheat once gold, now a pale straw laid in careful rectangles. Vineyards are an ordered music of lines. Sunflower patches tilt like small bright faces slowing to rest. Meadows are a cool, deep green that looks soft enough to sleep in. From this height, everything is a language of shapes and hues, serene and legible. Cities soften into tone and light. Paris is not a clamour from up here. It is stone and water, bridges like small breaths over the river, rooftops like quiet scales of slate. The grand avenues become pale leaves of a calm tree. The light there is milky, gentle, spreading as if it knows that everything important can be said in a whisper. You drift southward again, called by warmth. Provence is opening like a book that has been read many times and loved each time more. The lavender is still there, a sea that makes gravity feel kinder. The scent returns. This time the time is a little clearer. Its whisper dry and green, the way a hillside smells at noon. The air is gentle on your face. You feel it smooth the space between each thought. You are aware of time, but not its urgency. It stretches like silk pulled over an open frame. The sun stands a little lower, and the gold grows deeper, sliding toward amber. Shadows lengthen and soften. The world breathes with you. Beyond the lavender, your gaze climbs the Alps once more. Snow gathers in elegant lines along the peaks. Their blue shadows rest in high bowls of stone. The sky behind them remains a true, even blue, as if it has been kept still for this view. You appreciate the way distance holds them. They remain there, quiet and certain. You remain here, just as quiet, just as sure. To the west, vineyards radiate from the Grands bends and across the gravel plains of Bordeaux. From above, they are green music in patient rows. Sunlight runs along the wires, vanishing into afternoon. The land whispers in the same slow meter, and you hear it without sound. It speaks of waiting, ripening, being. Northward, the Loire Valley lays its ribbon of water among pale castles and willow-shaded banks. The roofs are slate, the walls are cream, and the lawns are the green of hush. Gardens are carved but not strict, softened by age and light. It feels like the space between heartbeats. In Normandy, hedgerows measure distance like small lullabies. Orchards scatter trees in a thoughtful pattern. Fields slope toward the channel, and old farmhouses sit back in their gardens as if listening. The light there has a gentle pearliness, a tender grey that carries rest like a bowl carries water. Farther west, Brittany reaches into the sea with a quiet determination. Granite outcrops hold warm lichen and slow breezes. Harbours are blue pockets of calm, folded close to land. The coast knots itself into bays and points, and the day lingers on rocks that have known many evenings. From here, they are soft shapes, names murmured rather than spoken. At the other edge, the south grows more fragrant as you drift along. The Mediterranean light is clear and friendly, the colour of bright glass. Hills step down to the water in terraces of pines and stone. Towns are pale ribbons against the coast, facades warmed by sun and stitched together by narrow lanes. The sea keeps them company with its steadiness, bright and without hurry. You let your attention return again to scent. The gentle, warm air carrying the calming scent of lavender and wild thyme feels almost like a presence, quiet and companionable. It rests on your skin and in your lungs. Your eyelids feel heavier, but not yet closed. The horizon is a wide cradle. You trace the Rhone Valley with your eyes. A corridor of light and wind. Vineyards climb slopes in green ladders. Villages pale and compact, clustered around churches that lift modest spires. Everything is held in the same assured stillness. Stone glows softly. Earth breathes warmth back into the air. The day is tender with promise and repose. Across the centre, the Massif Central lies like a gathering of old, sleeping animals. Gentle domes and rounded ridges, a geography of pauses. Grasslands brush these higher places, and the colour tilts toward heather and olive. Rivers begin in small, thoughtful springs and wander outward, unafraid of distance. You look, and you understand without needing words. This is a place where large thoughts learn to slow down. In the east, the Jura lifts and folds with a quiet elegance. It is a rhythm of forest and meadow, limestone and clear light. The slopes hold vineyards on their lower runs, and above, the trees lean into wind you cannot hear but can almost imagine, balanced and kind. The outline of the land is patient even in its complexity. The Pyrenees murmur along the southern edge, a long steady exhale of stone. Valleys lie like open hands between shoulders of mountain. In your view, everything is softened by distance. Lines blur into comfort. Peaks rise not to impress but to accept the sky. You return once more to the heart of this arrival. Provence waits in its purple hush. The lavender fields return to your eyes as if they had never left. They roll on, and the warm golden sun keeps their colour kind. Creating a sea of soft purple under a warm golden sun, they hold your gaze the way a lullaby holds the end of a day. You drift nearer, not by moving, but by allowing the scene to enlarge inside you. A small road runs like a pale ribbon between the fields, turning with the land. Stone walls low and soft-edged keep the curve of the hill. A farmhouse rests with its windows half-lidded. Cypress stand like quiet guardians. Olive trees turn their leaves to show their silver undersides in the subtle movement of air. The thyme at the road's edge releases its green, clean perfume into the afternoon. It feels like home, even if you have never been here. You feel the warmth on your forearms, the gentle weight of sunlight. You know the touch of sun-warmed stone without laying your hand upon it. The air presses slightly, the way a soft blanket does. Every sense carries its own ease. If there were sounds, they would be slow and distant. But here, above and within, there is only quiet. The Alps remain in your periphery, anchors of brightness. They keep their promise of cool. Their presence is like a thought you can return to whenever you wish. A thought that says, you're held, you're supported, you're small in the best way. The sky between here and there is so clear that you can imagine following it forever. You don't need to. The knowing is enough. You let your gaze soften until the land below becomes colour and shape without edges. Lavender dissolves into purple breath. Vineyards become green threads. Forests become hushed shadow. Rivers lace the scene with patient silver. The sun pours a slow cascade over everything, gathering small details into a single gentle radiance. Your shoulders sink another measure. Your jaw loosens. The space behind your eyes is wide and cool. Here, arrival is not a moment but a state. You're not coming from or going to. You're simply here, above France, inside a light that forgives time. Anything that was sharp has become rounded. Anything that was loud has softened. You feel the world's great quiet tide and let it lift you, just enough to leave the day behind. Drifting north again, you notice the quilt of fields in the Paris basin, pale greens and creams stitched together by slender roads. Towns appear as circles of stone and tile ringed by orchards, then dissolve into open land. The Seine loops and glitters, unbothered. Bridges step across it in small, gracious strides. The city rests. From here, it is a soft idea of roofs and gardens, of narrow shadows and warm light. To the west, salt pans lie like mirrors in the low country, catching the late day. Pale rectangles filled with the sky. Marsh grass bends into tidy calligraphy. The shore holds the meeting of land and water as a hand holds another hand, without strain, with ease. You drift back, unhurried, southward through the soft incline of hills, following faint lines that suggest Roman roads and medieval tracks. The land remembers many paths, yet reveals only ease. Heat radiates lightly from stones. Shadows lean long over terrace walls. A lizard might bask, invisible from here, and you accept even what you cannot see as part of the calm. The gentle, warm air carrying the calming scent of lavender and wild thyme is now the phrase your body knows best. It is not only smell, it is an atmosphere, a field made of quiet. It touches your temples. It smooths the space around your heart. It lengthens your breath without asking. You pause your drifting in that wide sky above Provence. The fields compose themselves into a painter's calm geometry, and then they relax again into soft hills. The line of the horizon sits low, generous. The sun is still warm, but it has begun to move toward its evening kindness. The colour deepens. The purple of lavender drops a shade into duskier blue at the edges. The gold of sunlight grows amber, almost apricot at the far line. The world holds you in this change the way a mother holds a child falling asleep, steady, without urgency. If your thoughts arrive, they arrive as the slow turn of a windmill's veins somewhere in this wide country. They pass without effort. If your body reminds you of itself, it is only to say that it is safe to soften further. Your lips part a little. Your brow smooths. Your hands grow heavy and pleasant. From this height, the entire country hums with a single note of welcome, too soft to be sound. Mountains, coasts, valleys, plains, each offers its own version of rest, and together they deepen the hush. You hover in balance between looking and being. You're looking at France, and you are part of the calm that France, in this moment, seems to generate simply by existing under a warm sun and a clear sky. You look once more at the distant snow-capped peaks of the French Alps against a clear blue sky. You let their lines draw a quiet boundary at the edge of your vision. You let the lavender's purple carry you back to the centre. You breathe the gentle, warm air, and let the calming scent of lavender and wild thyme be the last thought before thought fades. The scene settles, like a sheet laid gently over a bed. Light rests on stone and leaf. Air rests on skin. Eyes rest on colour. And you, arriving from a great height, have arrived. The vista is yours without needing to hold it. The land is below, the sky above, and you are exactly between them, balanced and at ease. You do not need to move. You do not need to decide. The grand vista holds steady, wide and kind. France lies open and untroubled, a patient cradle of fields, rivers, villages and far white peaks. You lie open and untroubled in return. The day exhales. You exhale with it. The lavender darkens by a shade as the sun eases lower. The Alps keep their cool glint. Somewhere beyond, the sea keeps its promise of steady light. Here, where sky meets you and you meet the land, there is only one thing left to do. You let your breath lengthen. You let the world become simpler. You let this arrival become rest. You linger in the stillness you found above the country, breath easy, shoulders soft. The grand vista quiets inside you, and the world draws closer, detail by patient detail. You descend as if set down by the kindest hand. The light warms, the air deepens into scent. The open tapestry becomes threads you can touch. Your feet find earth. Provence rises around you in gentle rolls. Lavender takes the hills in slow waves, an endless purple that seems to hum without sound. The rows curve with the land. The land answers with softness. You stand at the edge of a path and let the colour settle your gaze. You step into the field. On either side, blooms lean and lift, a tide that never breaks. You reach out. Your fingertips meet the soft texture of the purple blooms, silky powder fine. The tiny flowers press and spring, leaving a touch of velvet on your skin. The scent opens like a door you already knew how to pass through. lavender and warm stone, a faint breath of wild thyme holding to the edges of the path. You draw it in and feel it ease the space between your thoughts, as if the air itself knows you have come to slow down. You kneel. The ground is pale and warm, scattered with light stones that hold the day's heat. Your palm rests on the soil, and the warmth rises into your hand. You feel the texture, crumbled earth, a hint of grit, a kindness of temperature. It was waiting. You were expected. Leaves are a muted green, almost silver in the light. You lift a sprig and watch how each tiny flower holds its own place in a calm geometry. The stem is angular. The blooms are small gatherings of softness. You set it back, and it returns to its posture like a thought gently placed back on a shelf. Between the rows, the path is a pale ribbon. Dust softens the edges of your steps. A cypress stands ahead, spare and dark, a single line on a page of colour. Beyond it, a farmhouse rests with shutters half closed, stones warmed to honey. Olive trees turn their leaves, silver one moment, green the next. You pause. The field spreads to every side, endless rolling hills, each band of lavender folding into the next. Light sits on the tops of the plants and pours itself along the rows, a quiet river of gold that never hastens. You watch the rise and fall until it feels like your own breath made visible. You reach into the blooms again. The soft texture meets you with the same gentleness as before. You press lightly, just enough to feel the give and the resilience. A whisper of scent rises at your touch, calm and clean. You bring your fingers close to your face and let the aroma fill the small space between inhale and exhale. A low wall runs along the contour of the hill, stones stacked by hands that understood the shape of land and the pace of days. Your fingertips trace their edges. They hold warmth and age, a memory of mornings and quiet afternoons collected over years too numerous to count. The lavender extends beyond sight. You stand and let your eyes soften. The rows blur into a purple sea under a warm golden sun. The air is gentle, resting on your skin like a shawl. You're here, inside colour and light, and a scent that makes time unclench. When you step from the field, you do not step away from it. You carry its calm forward. The land eases westward, as if turning a page for you. Hills lower. A wide sky stretches out. Somewhere ahead, riverlight gathers, and the air changes in a way you feel more than name. Bordeaux comes in a language of order and patience. Neat sun-drenched vineyards run in measured lines across gentle slopes. The rows repeat, uphill and down, a pattern as restful as a lullaby. You stand at the head of a line and see it disappear with grace into distance. The soil underfoot is a shallow bed of gravel and small stones. You press the sole of your shoe down and feel the firmness, the quick exchange of heat lifting through the stones. You crouch and let a few roll in your palm. They are warm and smooth, each one a small keepsake of river and time. Vines rise on simple posts, the wires drawn taut between them, a quiet geometry that guides growth. Leaves turn their faces to the sun, a tender green lit from within. You lift one and see its web of veins, the delicate map of how light becomes fruit. It is simple, it is complete. Clusters hang in the shade, tucked into the cool of their own leaves. You do not need to taste to know the promise held in their roundness. You notice the weight, the quiet way they occupy their place. You notice the way the vine leans and the post accepts the leaning. You walk the row. Posts pass like slow beats. The ground falls and rises with the slope, and the line of vines carries you through. On the far hill, another parcel repeats the pattern, and beyond it, another. The repetition does not demand attention, it frees it. Your mind loosens into the rhythm. A low wall of pale stone borders the path. Beyond it, a farmhouse faces the vines without any urgency. Its walls are whitewashed, its roof the colour of old, warm tiles. A row of trees shelters the yard. Their shadows lie like long, calm hands across the ground. You stand at a corner where one parcel meets another. The rows angle slightly. Their meeting makes a gentle wedge of bare earth. You look down and see small chips of quartz and shell, a scatter of light captured in stone. You pick up one, hold it, then return it to the soil. The air here is open. It moves just enough to stir the upper leaves. The lower leaves rest. The rows are quiet. You accept the quiet as you would a chair in sunlight. You stand and sit inside it at the same time. No hurry, no edges. You turn and look along the pattern again. Lines running into distance, then folding back toward you in parallel. Sun touches the wires and lifts off as if light were a gentle song. The slope is patient. The hill holds you as if you were one more post, one more leaf, one more settled part of the scene. When you leave the vineyard, you leave it by walking through it. The pattern comes with you, a remembered cadence carried in your steps. The air cools slightly. Hills gather into quieter shoulders. Forest lines the horizon in deep, layered green. You cross into the Vosges as if entering a room made of trees. The light lowers and softens. The scent changes to resin and damp leaf. Trunks rise, tall and straight, a calm colonnade that needs no ceiling. Your eyes adjust. Your breath deepens without being asked. The ground is moss and needles and leaf litter, a thickness that gives under your foot, then returns to meet the soul again. You take a step and feel the gentle spring. You take another. The path welcomes every quiet weight you place upon it. You place your hand on bark cool and ridged. Your fingers find grooves that have held rain and winter, and the small lives of insects. Where the sun passes through, thin shafts of light pour down and make dust float like tiny, wandering stars. Ferns unfold at the base of stones, each frond a patient thought. The forest is layered soundlessly. Beech with smooth grey trunks. Fir and spruce with dark boughs and a quiet density. The names matter less than the feeling, ancient and kind. You tilt your head back and see branches reaching for one another, intersecting, letting go, a web that breathes. You kneel and press your palm into moss. It is cool and damp. It holds a softness that cannot be rushed. Your hand leaves a shallow impression, then the green rises again and accepts itself back into shape. You sit for a moment as if the moss were a cushion made of time. A fallen trunk lies ahead, resting in a bed of its own bark. You place your hand there and feel the texture change. Rough outside, then softer, almost feathered within. The wood opens easily under your touch, fibres turning to earth. Transformation feels gentle here, just another way of resting. You stand and walk to a clearing where the trees step back. The ground swells into a rounded hill, one of the old ballons that give the Vosges their soft outline. Grass lifts to your shins. In the distance, folds of green repeat, each quieter than the last, the farthest almost blue with calm. You stay until the shapes tell you nothing new and everything you needed to hear. When you return to the trees, it is like entering a familiar chapel. The same light, the same hush, the same sense that standing still is a kind of travelling. You graze your fingertips along a line of moss on a low stone. It is delicate and resilient. A small lichen cup holds a droplet of invisible light. You do not disturb it. You only notice. Your noticing is the way you participate in the forest's patience. When you leave the Vosges, the green remains with you. It softens your gaze as the land opens again. Fields appear. Hedges stitch the edges of meadows. The sky lifts into pearl and pale blue. You taste a hint of salt that seems to have travelled inland on an old, kind breeze. The land leans toward the sea. Roads straighten. Grass shortens and brightens. The air thins and clears, as if it has been sifted through light. You follow the quiet pull until the country pauses at its own bright edge. The chalky white cliffs of Normandy rise ahead, clean and calm. They meet the calm, grey-blue sea in a simple, perfect line. You stand on a grassy top and feel the ground spring beneath you, a thin cushion over old stone. Sea thrift gathers in pink clusters along the rim, small lanterns in the steady wind. You approach until your view is full of white and blue. Chalk shows its bands, layers set down like soft pages. Dark flint nodules are scattered through the white, each a slow punctuation mark in the cliff's long sentence. You kneel and touch a small piece of chalk on the path. It dusts your fingertips with a white softness, a quiet proof of its nature. The sea holds itself with composure. Grey-blue, with hints of pewter and slate, it rests against the base of chalk as if completing a shape. The rhythm is even. The surface changes and remains, a curving plane of thought that is never rushed. You let it become the pace of your seeing. An arch cut in the cliff frames a slice of horizon. Through it, water meets sky in a line so steady it almost disappears. The image is spare and generous at the same time. White, blue, a green band of turf, a few pale clouds that seem to carry their own silence. Pebbles gather where the topsoil thins. You pick one up. It is cool and smooth, a small oval that fits the palm as if it were made for it. You roll it once, twice, then set it back among its kin. The simple act feels complete. Nothing else is asked of you. You move along the cliff top as if reading a sentence without hurry. The edge curves inward and outward in wide syllables. A path threads a safe course, never too near, never too far. The wind, quiet, companionable, draws the grass into soft gestures that return to stillness almost as soon as they begin. You stand where the cliff lifts higher and the sea deepens in tone. The meeting of chalk and water is not an argument here. It is an old, tender understanding. The white keeps its brightness. The grey-blue keeps its calm. You accept both, and in accepting, you are accepted. You turn inland slowly, carrying the line of that meeting with you like a long, simple cord. Fields widen, hedgerows outline the land in low, green stitches. A narrow lane leads you through gentle rises and into a small orchard where light and leaf mingle with a deliberate ease. Apples hang in quiet rows, their skins painted by sun and shade. You rest your hand on a branch and feel the fine roughness of bark under your palm. The grass below is cool, soft with clover. A low wall borders the trees. You sit and the stone shares its warmth without asking for anything in return. Time stretches the way a shadow stretches late in the day, not leaving, just lengthening. You lift a hand and let it drift through the light. Dust motes rise and settle. The world is unhurried. You are unhurried inside it. From here, you return in your mind to the lavender you first touched, to the rose you walked, to the forest where you pressed your palm into moss, to the chalk that marked your fingers white. The lay of the land has become a set of textures you can hold without holding. You breathe and let each one arrive. Soft bloom, warm stone, gravel that releases heat by degrees, bark that remembers rain, moss cool as a kept secret, chalk like a cloud you can carry away on skin, water that rests, skies that stays. You step again into Provence, not to repeat, but to complete. The endless rolling fields extend under an afternoon that has ripened by a shade. You graze your knuckles against the purple. The soft texture of the blooms answers with the same patience as before. The scent gathers and folds around you, a gentle herbal shawl. You follow a pale path between rows until it meets a road bordered by thyme and low, dry grasses. The road runs past a small terrace where clay pots keep rosemary and basil. The leaves look as if they have been standing in the sun's kindness all day. You glance at them and move on, carrying the small green sharpness in your breath. The vineyard returns in its ordered lines. Sun has tilted, but still drenches the slopes with a steady gold. The neat rows make their quiet music, wires humming only in the thought of it. You rest your hand on a post and feel the clean grain, the trace of old rain, the warmth stored and released with care. You notice how the pattern changes with the hill, how the rows tighten as the slope steepens, how a wall adjusts to meet them, how emptiness is given room where roots need to breathe. Every change is an invitation to see again, to see better, and then to rest from seeing. You lift a handful of the gravel and let it slip back through your fingers. It makes no sound that reaches you. It is simply movement returned to stillness. You tuck a stone into your pocket and then reconsider returning it to the earth. The place is whole as it is. Back beneath the trees of the Vosges, shadows are longer and more gentle. The light is a tea-coloured amber in some places, a cool silver in others. You rest your back against a trunk and let the tree hold you upright. You close your eyes and feel your breath discover the forest's slower measure. When you open your eyes, a small fern frond is unfurling in the margin of your vision. You watch it as you would watch a tide. No hurry, no end point, just the comfort of a movement that belongs to itself. You touch the moss beside it and let the cool rise into your palm. On the Normandy cliffs once more, the sea has deepened into evening grey blue. The chalk lightly glows, a soft lantern wall. The edge feels kind and sure. You stand a safe step back and let the horizon lengthen your exhale. The field behind you is dotted with buttercups, their yellow a quiet echo of the sun. Birds move as slim shadows in the air, drawing smooth lines you barely notice until they are gone. The sea remains, a page held open by the world itself. You do not need to move far now. The lay of the land has been gathered close. Provence's purple, Bordeaux's green geometry, the Vosges' deep shade and moss, Normandy's white edge and composed water. Each is a room you can enter with a breath. You stand between them as if at the centre of a calm compass. To the south, warmth and scent. To the west, slopes and measured lines. To the east, old forest. To the north, the meeting of chalk and sea. You feel how each direction adds to the same quiet, the same ease. You place your hand over your chest for a moment and feel the slow, regular beat. The land has that rhythm too. Rows, waves, trunks, cliffs. Repetition that softens rather than hardens. Patterns that return you to yourself. A last walk through lavender helps your body remember touch. You bend, and the soft texture of the purple blooms brushes your knuckles again, familiar and tender. You inhale, and the scent writes a calm sentence through your day. The sun drifts down a degree, warm and forgiving. In the vines, the gentle slopes hold shadows like fine lace. Leaves quiver at their edges, then settle. You look along the posts and feel how the land speaks in lines as much as in colours. You listen, and in listening you rest. Among the trees, you return to moss and the faint resin-soft air. You move your hand from bark to bark, a slow conversation in texture. The forest answers by simply being there, ancient without urgency, sheltering without weight. At the cliff, chalk dust clings to your fingertips again, a light white reminder. You rub thumb to forefinger and watch it vanish. The sea holds the same even colour. The tide meets the land as it always has, a patient greeting without words. You look across the country from within it now, not as a map, but as a sequence of touchstones. The lay of the land is not only shape, it is the feel of earth balanced underfoot, the temperature of stone, the softness of plant and moss, the clean edge of mineral and water. You let your eyes half close. What remains is what is essential. Purple under gold, green in measured lines, deep forest shade, white chalk against grey-blue calm. A geography not of borders, but of steadiness. The light lowers another measure. You do not mark the time. You ride the change as you walked the rows, as you traced the path between trees, as you followed the cliff's curve, without effort, without leaving anything behind. When you breathe now, it is as if the land breathes with you. The lavender's scent deepens at the base. The vineyard air holds a last warmth. The forest settles into a cooler green. The sea smooths into evening metal, soft and sure. You stand in that union and let it be enough. The world has offered its textures. You have answered with your attention. The exchange is simple. It is complete. You turn once more toward the field, the slope, the trees, the edge, and then toward the quiet centre that holds them all. You feel the day lengthen inside you. You feel yourself lengthen inside the day. You walk a few slow steps along a pale path. The ground is kind. The air is calm. The lay of the land has become a way of moving, a way of seeing, a way of being held. You are ready to continue, but not yet to leave. You rest where earth and light meet in an easy balance. Provence presses its perfume into the evening. Bordeaux keeps its green order. The Vosges shelter their gentleness. Normandy offers its clean, white line to the steady sea. You gather them, not as souvenirs but as quiet companions. They will travel with you to the next place, and the next. For now, you stand very still, and feel how the land has arranged itself around your breath, how your breath has arranged itself around the land. You are here. You are part of the quiet geography. The ground accepts your weight, and the day accepts your rest. You stand where geography met your breath and matched its pace. The land has settled inside you. Now, as if a door opens within the same quiet, you feel time step forward with a gentle hand. History arrives not as a story to be told, but as light on stone, as craft in patient hands, as a fragrance that lingers without asking why. You follow a narrow path upward. The hill gathers houses into a single thought. Stone holds the slope the way a palm holds water. Sure, simple and kind. You move slowly, as if each step were taught by the place itself. An ancient village like gourds rises around you. The sun has kept its promise to the pale rock. It rests there in a soft warmth that enters your shoes and then your bones. The lanes turn in measured spirals, inviting the body to climb as gently as breath climbs in the chest. You pause beside a wall. It is rough and soft at once, its surface made of small variations and the calm pattern of old hands. Your fingertips find the mortar, chalky and cool beneath the warmth it remembers. Lichen grows in rounded patches, pale green, quiet grey, tiny constellations that only time can arrange. Shutters lean half open on iron hinges that have learned patience. Their paint has faded into the exact blue of a remembered sky. A small iron latch throws a shadow shaped like a leaf. The window behind it is dark for now, a quiet room holding the scent of stone and linen. A staircase climbs between walls. The steps are low and slightly hollowed by centuries. Each riser is a mild question. Each landing is a soft answer. You run a hand along the top of the wall and feel places worn smooth by many palms, an index of arrivals that needed no proclamation. Terracotta tiles cover the roofs in a steady rhythm. They curve like cupped hands, tile over tile, catching sun through the long hours. Here and there a tile is darkened, a patched memory. Together they make a skin that breathes for the village, warm by day, forgiving by night. You turn a corner into a lane so narrow the walls almost touch. In the crease of shade, the air cools. A pot of basil keeps company with a stone step. Its leaves release a soft green scent, a small living kindness shared with anyone who bends to pass. A doorway sits a little below the street. The threshold has become a shallow arc from feet that have crossed without ceremony. You touch the worn curve and feel the gentle melancholy of passage, the way days accumulate in small beneficent wear. A quiet square opens like a held breath. A single plane tree lifts a roof of green. Sun prints a lace of leaf shadows on stone. A bench waits along the wall. You sit and borrow the bench's warmth as if it were a book you will return. The valley stretches beyond the parapet like a soft quilt. Olive trees, ribboned fields, distant lavender. You feel more than see the life within it. A small fountain gathers itself into a niche of stone. Water slips from a spout shaped like a simple leaf. It collects in a shallow basin and rests there. The basin's rim is rounded by hands that have leaned without thinking, a quiet archive of pauses and thoughts. You stand and walk slowly along the parapet. The wall's top is a long shelf, warmed by light. Your hand trails along it, as if reading a sentence written in rock. Every few steps, a small sprig of thyme has found a home in the cracks. You touch one and let its scent meet the day. Shutters on the far side of the square are the colour of the sea imagined from a window. They stand open. A linen curtain breathes at the edge of the frame. The cloth lifts and settles in a rhythm so slow it feels like the village itself is exhaling. A narrow arch leads to another lane. You enter. It curves into less light, then opens to it again, like a thought becoming clear in a quiet mind. A bronze door knocker shaped as a hand rests against dark wood, polished to a gentle glow by touch. A basket of willow leans in the shade, its weave a calm geometry of use. At the high edge of the village, a rampart overlooks the valley. The view is a long cord held without effort. Low terraced walls step down the hill, looping their way toward the lavender that sleeps in afternoon sun. You rest both hands on the stone and allow its warmth to travel into your arms, into your shoulders, into your breath. The lanes return you to a simple road. Cypress stand at thoughtful intervals, slim and watchful. The road bends, stone holds to earth. Ahead, the profile of a church keeps itself modest, set close to the land as if in conversation with it. You arrive where simplicity and devotion meet without ornament. A Romanesque abbey like Sinonc rests among lavender fields in a grace that requires no explanation. The facade is plain and complete. A small rose window turns toward the sky like a flower made of stone. You pause before the doorway and notice the measure of arches, how curve settles into curve, how weight descends into pillars that know how to carry it. The stone is a pale honey when the sun touches it, a shy silver in shadow. You step forward and cross the threshold as quietly as a sigh. Inside, the nave is cool. Thick walls gather silence and keep it gentle. Light enters in thin, even slips from high windows, descending as if each shaft has learned humility. The air is simple and kind. You breathe it as if it were a prayer given back to you by the building. You move your hand along a pillar. Its surface is eased by touch, the tactile memory of those who stood where you stand. At shoulder height, the stone is smoother, warmer, carrying a faint polish where bodies paused and leaned. Your palm recognizes the story without needing words. The arches lift and meet with calm assurance. Capitals carry simple leaves and patterns chiseled with devotion rather than display. A sequence of curves leads your eye forward. The floor is not perfectly level. It is truthful. Your steps find their place in that honesty. A single window in the apse opens a clean square of light onto the floor. Dust drifts in it like slow blessings. You step into the edge of brightness and feel light on your skin as a weightless touch. You step back into shade and feel its embrace as equal comfort. You turn toward the cloister. A small door leads into a square of sky framed by arcades. The columns are spare, their capitals quiet. Light and shadow alternate along the walk like a calm heartbeat. In the centre, a simple garden holds grass and a few herbs, the living world gathered in a humble geometry. You place your hand on the cool stone of the cloister rail. Its curve meets your palm with a friendliness that only time can teach. You begin to walk the quadrangle, one side at a time, your steps aligning with the rhythm of the arches. Each bay asks nothing more than presence. On a bench, you sit and let your gaze rest through two columns into a courtyard of stillness. The day leans into afternoon. The light turns from milk to honey to a pale apricot where it finds stone. In this measured change, you feel a tenderness for time itself. You imagine the chapter room, low vault stone benches, a small window. Figures once gathered to read a passage, to consider, to listen. The thought is soft. You return to the walk and finish the square. The cloister holds time at a pace the body recognizes as mercy. You step back into the nave and then through the main door into lavender air. The fields beyond lie still and fragrant. The purple rows a cathedral of their own making. You cross a strip of sun and find shade, letting the cool of the abbey mix with the warmth of the day until both become a steady calm. The road bends away from stone into gardened hills. Terraces hold citrus and roses. Grass lifts from the slopes like a bouquet of houses. The air is different here, tuned by blossoms gathered at the gentle hours. You enter a workshop where perfume is a practice of patience and light. The room is kept in soft shade. Linen blinds filter the sun. On shelves, bottles rest in neat families. Each holds a quiet colour: straw, pale gold, tea, a whisper of green. Their glass is clear, their labels written with a careful hand. Together they make a library of scent long studied and loved. A wooden work table stands in the centre. Its surface is worn to a satin from the lean of elbows, the weight of hands. An open ledger shows a page lined with steady notes: jasmine dawn harvest, rose de mai, ratio to alcohol, maceration days. The handwriting is exact without stiffness, the calligraphy of attention. Nearby, shallow trays cradle petals. Roses lie loose and generous, thick as a mild afternoon. Jasmine stars gather in a constellation stitched before sunrise. Orange blossom holds its luminous white, still reflecting morning. A soft mingling rises, not forceful, only present. The air reads like a poem you already know. Copper stills gather their curves into the far corner, round bellies, slender swan necks, a line of glass receivers waiting in a row. Distillation is quiet here, the warmth measured, the transformation slow. Water becomes a bearer of flowers, returning with what it has lifted, fragrant and clear. On another table you imagine the old practice of enfleurage. Glass plates spread with a thin layer of fat, petals pressed in attentive rows. Day by day the blooms give what they can. Day by day the plates accept, absorb, and are refreshed. Labour passes in gentle increments. The result is patience preserved. You lift a narrow blotter strip. A small bottle waits with its stopper loosely seated. You incline the glass and draw the paper across the opening. You bring it close and inhale. A note rises, jasmine, early and luminous. Another follows, rose, round and remembering. Then a tender whisper of orange blossom, as if a window had been opened to a quiet orchard at dusk. A perfumer's organ rests nearby, an array of vials arranged like the keys of an instrument. Top, heart, base, citrus and green, floral and spice, wood and resin. You imagine a hand moving without hurry, one drop and then stillness, listening, another drop, then rest. The skill is not to impose, but to invite a chord to form and be itself. You sense the seasons in this room. Spring gathered in baskets, summer kept in glass, autumn coaxed from resins and barks, winter warmed with a thread of vanillic comfort. Yet nothing declares itself loudly. Every note is placed for balance, for kindness to the nose, for longevity in memory. In a corner, a box of dried petals keeps an archive of days. Their colours have faded to tender shades. You lift one. It turns to a fine powder at the lightest touch, returning to earth as if into a story that welcomes all endings. You set the fragments down and feel how care once given remains even when its form changes. You step onto a terrace. Hills roll into the near distance. Gardens fold and unfold. Somewhere below, an orange tree steadies the air with a quiet brightness. Somewhere above, a vine keeps its mild shade over a table that remembers conversations without words. You stand between, wrapped in scent that belongs to both place and practice. You leave grass without leaving its patience. The road leads back through hills into a long room of the mind, where parchment and pigment wait under a small, faithful light. You enter a medieval scriptorium, a cradle of pages, where monks once served hours by tending letters and light. The space is spare. Windows set high. Light falls in an even glow that favours concentration. Desks lean toward the walls, each topped with a sloped board, a rest for hand and line. The air is a calm mixture of vellum, wood, and a faint spice of ink. You sit at a station and lay your hand on a sheet of vellum. It feels cool and softly resistant, like skin taught to hold a new purpose. The surface has been pumiced to receive ink and gold. It keeps a mild sheen, a quiet readiness. A quill lies beside the page, its nib cut to a fine angle. You dip it into iron gall ink, dark and certain. Capillary grace draws liquid into the feather's cut. You imagine tracing a script that spares nothing and wastes nothing. Letters balanced in modules, lines spaced by breath, a text becoming a gentle architecture. Shells nearby hold pigments. Lapis, a blue that contains depth like a steady gaze. Malachite green, fresh as moss after rain. Vermilion, a warm red held in moderation. Lead white, soft and luminous. A few egg-tempered dishes stand covered, sleeping until a hand wakes them. Gold leaf rests in a tissue book, squares thin enough to tremble when you think of them. You watch a hand, calm, deliberate, lift a sheet and lay it onto a small cushion of bowl prepared days ago. A breath not of effort but of presence holds the leaf to its place. An agate burnisher moves with care until the square brightens into a small contained sunrise. An initial unfurls at the head of a page. A slender brush draws vines that curl into modest leaves. A bird emerges simple and clear, its eye a pin-prick of ink. Nothing is crowded. The white ground is honoured. The page breathes as it gathers meaning. At another desk, a monk copies line by line, the script steady as the beating of a heart at rest. He sharpens his quill with practised movements. He lays a straight edge, pricks points for margins, rules faint lines. Each act is a kindness to the future reader, a gift of legibility made with love. Quires stacked to one side, folded and nested, soon to be sewn. A small press keeps completed gatherings under gentle pressure. Needles thread linen cords. Wooden boards wait to become covers. Leather lies moistened and pliant, prepared to hold a life of pages. You look at a page filled with text, the margins wide. A thumbprint, almost invisible, becomes a human punctuation in the corner. A tiny note in the gutter marks an emendation with humility. A flower painted in a free moment curls from an initial like a smile. Makers remain anonymous. Their presence rests in the quality of care. You run your fingertip along a margin. The vellum yields slightly and returns. You imagine writing a single word pieced so slowly that each stroke becomes a breath, each breath a small vow to clarity. The letters would be modest, legible, and kind to eyes not yet born. Your attention moves to a finished book. Oaken boards, leather dressed with a simple blind stamp. Clasp that close without fuss. It opens to a page where gold finds light and gives it back softly. The script is steady. The space between lines is generous. The book is a nest for meaning and for rest. You understand that all these acts, building in stone, gathering scent, writing and gilding, share the same devotion, to make a place where the day can settle, where care can take form, where a life can meet time as a friend. You carry this understanding back into the lanes of the hilltop village. The walls now feel like pages in a book of stone. The shutters read as lines of script, opening and closing to the chapter of light. The fountain is a footnote of grace in the margin of the square. Every detail is a sentence in a quiet language. You stand again by the parapet and look out. Olive trees hold their silver green like a whispered prayer. Lavender lies as a gentle text beyond. The valley folds into itself and opens again. Your hand remembers the worn curve of the threshold. Your eyes remember a linen curtain lifting. You return to the abbey. Its facade is more beautiful now that you have held a gilded page in your mind. The stone speaks in the same tone as the vellum. Clarity, proportion, kindness to light. Inside, the nave gathers you without fanfare. Your steps fall into the cadence of the arches. Your shoulder brushes the pillar where an older Polish lives. The cloister welcomes you back into the square of sky. You walk the arcade with the patient pace a scribe would use to form a line. Your hand glides along the stone rail as if along a sentence you are learning by heart. The garden's smallness is a blessing. It says that enough can be very little. In grass again, the ledger lies open as if waiting for a new harvest to declare itself in soft numerals. You imagine writing Jasmine Dawn with the same care a monk uses to inscribe a psalm. The stills are quiet for the moment, bellies catching only the mild light. A bottle on the shelf holds, behind glass, a summer morning you will one day need. You revisit the scriptorium in thought and see how a brush touched gold and made it sing without sound. The gesture was minimal, the effect lasting. The leaf is thin, but the impression is deep. The craft is modest, but the result is bright. You feel a gentle melancholy within this calm. Not sorrow exactly, but the tender knowledge that hands made these things and are gone. The walls remain warm, the arches still hold light, the bottles still keep a field, the pages still offer a reading that rests the eye. Leaves have passed through them like breath through a linen curtain, visible only in the way the cloth moves. You accept that feeling. It rounds the edges of gratitude. It says, what is cared for can carry care forward. It says, attention leaves a trace that others can rest in long after the hands have stilled. In the lane, you place your hand on the wall once more. It answers with the quiet heat of day. At the abbey, your palm returns to a pillar, cool and even. In the workshop, your fingers hold a blotter that remembers jasmine. In the scriptorium, you lift a quill and set it down again without writing. Presence is enough. Your breath aligns to a simple set of measures. Stone warmed by sun, stone cooled by shadow, scent distilled from 1,000 small flowers, gold laid onto a page as thin as thought. These are not separate rooms anymore. They are one house of gentleness, built over centuries, always ready to receive you. You sense how place and practice meet in a quiet symmetry. Villages set on hills to breathe, abbeys arranged to welcome light, workshops tuned to the rhythms of harvest and temperature, scriptoria composed to honour the eye and the hand. Each asks less of the world than it gives back in order and calm. You linger in the square of the village, among the soft edges of stone, until the light shifts by a shade. A cat steps into a patch of sun and becomes a small paragraph of ease. A wooden door stands ajar in a deep lavender shadow. Time does not press. It folds itself neatly and places itself on the sill. You walk the arcades of the cloister one more time. The light and shadow are equal partners now. The inner garden keeps its modest green. Your footfalls are small and regular, as if marking a line of text that returns to its margin. You feel the building hold breath and release it with you. You hold a bottle in grass and tilt it, just enough to watch a ribbon of fragrance ribbon along the glass. The smell, when it finds you, is both memory and possibility. You understand that this is how culture moves. One drop placed with care, another answering. The air changed for a moment in a way that can be shared. You touch the gold edge of a page and draw your finger back before making a mark. The light still clings there, patient in its thinness. The letters sit in their quiet rows like stones in a wall, each supporting the next, each necessary, none loud. The day has deepened without any rush. The village lanes soften into the colour of apricot and dust. The abbey keeps its silver-blue peace inside. The workshop holds the last warmth and the first suggestion of evening cool. The scriptorium's high windows fill with a gentler sky. You stand at a crossroads that is not a place, but a feeling. Stone against your palm, light on your shoulder, a scent that suggests a garden you cannot see. A page that waits without impatience. You're surrounded by what remains when time slows down and lives become crafts. You place your hand over your heart and feel the slow rhythm there. It is the same rhythm that guided the mason's chisel, the perfumer's pipette, the monk's pen. Not the beat of urgency, the beat of care. You take one more turn along the lane, along the cloister, along the terrace, along the row of desks. Each step is simple. Each space answers you with its nature. Stone says, stand. Light says, look. Scent says, breathe. Page says, rest. You understand that history here is not weight. It is buoyancy. It keeps you afloat at a speed where noticing is possible. You carry that speed into yourself, the way you would carry a vial of scent in your pocket, or a small leaf of gold in a book, or a smooth stone from a threshold. In the village, you brush the wall in passing and feel gratitude. At the abbey, you accept the coolness as a blessing. In the workshop, you invite a perfume to be memory and let it answer. In the scriptorium, you allow a blank page to remain blank and call it completion for now. You lift your gaze. The sky that held you above the land still holds you now. It gathers village and abbey and garden and page into one wide, forgiving blue. Beneath it, France breathes through its old stones and careful rooms, through flowers that become invisible music, through letters that turn light into meaning. You breathe with it, slow and even. The whisper of peaceful history becomes your own quiet. The culture you touched continues to touch you back, not as noise, but as a long, low note of belonging. You let the note sustain. You let it simplify everything. You stand in that sustain until standing feels like sitting, and sitting feels like sleep prepared. The lanes fade into lavender fields. The abbey's arches become a series of gentle eyelids. Grass holds the air like a calm hand. The scriptorium closes its book and keeps the page for morning. You're ready to continue when you wish. For now, you rest inside this room of centuries, feeling the warmth of stone, the cool of shadow, the soft echo of petals turned to fragrance, the tender gleam of gold. Time folds around you. You breathe, and the past breathes with you. You step from the hush of history into the ease of morning. The light is kind, the air is unhurried. The same land that held stone and scent now opens its hands to people beginning their day. A narrow lane widens into a small town square. Canvas awnings unfold like soft wings. Wooden trestles appear. Crates are lifted and opened. Colour gathers without fuss. You stand a moment and let the scene arrive around you. Warmth greets you first. Baguettes rest in wicker baskets, their crusts the colour of straw and late sun. You lean close. Wheat and oven rise to meet your breath. A simple comfort that seems to have waited for you across many mornings. The boulanger places loaves with the care of someone who has known this hour for years. A paper bag opens in his hands like a small sail. He slides a baguette inside and offers it to you with an easy nod. Heat moves through the paper into your palms. You hold the loaf as you would a warm stone lifted from a river. Across the square, a fromager arranges wheels and wedges on boards. Ivory domes, pale gold crescents, downy rinds, blue veining like quiet rivers. Small cards in a neat hand give each piece its name and place. The air gathers notes of cream, cellar, pasture. The scent does not crowd. It arrives in measured layers, each one a patient story of time. You choose a soft disc wrapped in chestnut leaf. The string is tied. Your hand accepts the parcel. Another small promise for the day. A florist lifts buckets from a van, and a stall becomes a garden. Peonies like folded silk. Ranunculus layered with quiet colour. Sprigs of rosemary and a mint awake the air. Simple paper wraps wait to become bouquets that will travel home in bicycle baskets and careful hands. The greengrocer builds gentle pyramids. Apricots dusted like tiny suns. Tomatoes bright as coin-sized lanterns. Lettuce in open crates, crisp and alert. You run a fingertip along the ribs of a fennel bulb. The cool curve answers with a clean thread of scent. A woman selects thyme and tucks it into her pocket. An older couple compares cherries, weighing them in open palms, nodding at their own agreement. A child in blue sandals holds a small paper cone of strawberries and inspects each fruit as if it were a bright thought. Beyond the stalls, a cafe opens to the morning. Chairs face the square with quiet interest. You sit at a round table. The metal is cool from night and kind to the fingers. A cup arrives, verbena or mint, steam writing a brief script above it. You break the heel from the baguette. The crust yields with a soft give that stays inside the moment. The crumb is tender, warm, full of small rooms of air. Butter melts in slow edges. You take a bite and taste wheat and salt and the gentle work of dawn. The square fills without becoming crowded. People move the way morning moves here. No haste, only purpose softened by neighbourly pause. A bouquet finds a bicycle basket. A loaf finds an arm. An exchange becomes a nod that says, "I know you, and that is enough." You drift between stalls with the lightness of someone who belongs because they are paying attention. A small jar of honey, a paper bag of almonds, a wedge of goat cheese wrapped in leaf. You carry these things as you would carry moments, lightly. The market begins to loosen by degrees. Awnings lift in the subtle wind near noon. Crates are stacked. The square reveals its stone once more. What remains is the feeling of being included in a ritual that has nothing to prove. You leave by a side street. Stone walls keep their shade. A cat watches from a sill with a gaze that allows everything. The road leans toward a low building with a hand-painted sign. A potter's name, a simple promise. Open. Inside, light gathers at the front and deepens toward the back. Shelves hold bowls and cups and plates, their shapes modest and sure. Edges are softened by touch. Glazes lie like weather on quiet hills. The room has the steady clarity of a place used every day. At the centre, a wheel waits like a slow heart. A bowl of water catches the sun that travels through the window. On a stool, a notebook lies open, ruled by dates and temperatures and glazes in tidy columns, a ledger of patience. The potter wets hands with practised ease. Clay sits centred on the wheel, a low mound ready for attention. Fingers press in. The wheel turns in a rhythm that could be breath. The clay wobbles, then aligns, finding stillness at the exact speed of care. You watch the first pull. Thumbs coax an opening. The base thickens into promise. Hands rise and the clay rises with them, a cylinder becoming itself. A wooden rib smooths the inside. A metal rib polishes the shoulder. Water makes a small gloss, then recedes. The wool thins under measured pressure. A curve develops that you recognise without knowing why. A bowl that wants to be held, a line your thumb will trace after washing. Nothing extra is added. The form appears as if it has been waiting just under the surface, asking only to be found. A wire slices through the base with a clean thought. The bowl slides to a bat and is set aside to rest. Light pools on its new shoulder. The wheel clears. Another shape begins. A cup. The opening is smaller. The wool lifts higher. The potter's fingers pinch a handle from a small lump, pulling it into a crescent, then pressing it to the cup's body with the lightest kiss. On a side table, bisque ware waits, porous and pale. Jars of glaze stand in rows, each labelled in a hand that values clarity. Celadon, cream, ash, a quiet blue. You imagine their liquid weight, the way minerals will become surface that invites touch. The potter lifts a bowl and dips it into glaze. The veil wraps the form and smooths to stillness. A finger clears the foot so the kiln can hold it safely. Pieces line up on boards, each one an intention paused between making and fire. You walk the shelves and see how variation speaks of the hand. No two are identical. The lip of a cup leans a degree more or less. The shoulder of a bowl settles in a slightly different slope. These differences are not flaws. They are the record of a conversation between skill and moment. The kiln stands quiet but warm, bricks storing yesterday's work. A logbook shows firings recorded in steady notes. Time, temperature, atmosphere, result. You sense the shared discipline across crafts. The perfumer's ledger, the scribe's page, the potter's firing chart. Each a way of listening to material and day. A trimmed bowl rotates on a banding wheel. A sharp tool takes a hair's width of clay from the foot. Curls fall like small ribbons and rest. The potter stops to consider the curve, then continues with a lighter hand. Care becomes visible in increments. You touch a matte rim, soft as a river stone. A plate invites the palm to settle on its centre. A pitcher leans forward with an unspoken offer. A lidded jar stands as if it knows the quiet of keeping. The potter looks up. The briefest smile crosses the room. It is a welcome and a return to focus in the same instant. You nod and step outside, carrying the calm as if it were a folded cloth tucked lightly under your arm. The road turns towards shade and then into sun again. Afternoon gathers under a striped awning. The cafe has become an open room for the day's second act. Tables hold plates and cups and the gentle weight of conversations that will never need to be written down. You take a chair at the border of light. A carafe of water arrives and gathers the sky's colour into its glass. You pour and taste stone and patience and the quiet work of clean pipes. On the table, a sprig of rosemary stands in a tumbler, as if to give the shade a small green voice. The soft murmur of talk drifts and returns. Words fold into each other and pause. Porcelain meets saucer and rests. A page is turned by a hand that has turned many. A napkin is smoothed with a small patience that honours its simple role. Two friends share a tart. Their knife divides it into equal slices, They laugh at the neatness and then do not speak for a while. A woman reads a book whose paper cover has learned how to be touched. Her straw hat waits on the empty chair beside her. A waiter wipes a table in slow circles and sets a glass precisely at the centre. Routine becomes hospitality. Your plate holds tomatoes, oil, a pinch of salt, bread from the morning, a slice of the cheese you chose. With each bite, flavour arrives, says what it needs to say, and rests. Shade holds you gently. The hour is well made. You watch the street and note the kindness of ordinary motions. Someone waters a pot of geraniums, the pour steady, the soil darkening by degrees. A scarf is tied loosely, then tied again more loosely, the second knot chosen for comfort. A child counts pigeons without arriving at a total, satisfied by the counting itself. The bicycle leans against a wall near the cafe door. The basket holds a folded newspaper and a sprig of mint. A dog curls under a chair and naps in absolute confidence. A plate is cleared with calm hands. Voices stay near the surface of the day. Clouds pass slowly across the narrow sky. The awning stripes lay a soft geometry on the table. You sit as if the chair were built exactly for this hour, and perhaps it was. Time widens to fit the body. When you stand, it is because standing feels like the next part of the same rest. A glance toward the waiter. A nod returned. The small economy of gratitude closes and remains. A lane lowers toward water. A canal runs between earth and sky like a sentence written in a careful hand. Plane trees stand in a long procession, their trunks mottled cream and olive, their leaves broad and generous with shade. You step onto the towpath. Fine gravel gives underfoot and then returns. The air is cooler here, washed with leaf and water. Dappled light travels over your shoulders, gathers at your feet, rises again as the path curves. The world lets out a long breath. On the water, a barge rests with dignified paint. Pots of thyme and basil keep a little garden on the deck. A bicycle leans against the railing. The mooring rope curves to a cleat, a single line holding a quiet story of arrival and pause. Cyclists ride slowly under the trees. A couple moves side by side, their conversation shaped in small pieces that fit between breaths. A lone rider passes with a basket that holds a loaf and pears wrapped in paper. The bells are touched lightly, not to claim space, but to greet it. The canal keeps its cool tone, green with a hint of blue. Light draws patterns on the surface and lets them dissolve. A fish turns in the far shallows and becomes a ripple, then a memory. The water is not in a hurry to be anything else. You rest your hand on a mooring post worn to satin by years of rope and weather. Wood holds the day's heat and gives it back politely. You lean for a moment and feel how rest can include movement when the movement is slow and repeated. A stone bridge arches ahead, worn into elegance by many steps. You pass beneath and the air cools by a degree. The shade tightens into a single thought under the vault, then opens again into a comfortable multiplicity of leaves and light. At a lock, the geometry is composed and calm. Gates meet water with assurance. A house with blue shutters keeps watch without effort. Window boxes hold geraniums that glow in their green frames. A chair leans against a wall as if listening to the day. A fisherman sits under a plane tree, hat low, line easy. A family shares a small snack on paper and looks pleased that crumbs attract a visiting duck. A bench waits as if it has been waiting since morning. You accept it. Seated, you drink water. You watch pedals turn at a pace you recognise as humane. Wheels carry people but do not insist. The plane trees lean toward one another across the path and make a nave of everyday shade. You tilt your face to the filtered light and let it find you. The towpath extends and invites but does not demand. It is a ribbon connecting villages and thoughts. You walk a little farther. The gravel writes a soft, even story underfoot. The plane trees keep their green roof. The canal keeps its long sentence of water. You turn back when turning back feels like the kindest way to continue. The trees keep their procession. The cyclists keep their gentleness. The afternoon begins its graceful incline toward evening. The town gathers itself for the day's second quiet. A bakery reopens with a few loaves and pastries. The air inside is warm and edged with vanilla. The square has shed the market and returned to its plain stone. A shopkeeper sweeps his threshold in long, unhurried arcs that draw the last heat to the margins. You pass the potter's doorway. The room is open to air. On a board, trimmed pieces firm. A test tile stands like a small flag of future colour. The kiln rests, but is warm to the palm. The potter runs a tool under a foot ring and lifts a ribbon of clay, then stops, as if listening to the hour. At the cafe, lamps wake under awnings with a soft bloom of light. Windows gather their glow behind linen. Chairs turn slightly toward the street. The square becomes a living room without walls, a place where the day comes to put its feet up. You take a seat where the lamplight will find your hands. A plate appears with something easy. Bread, the last of the tomatoes, a thin slice of cheese. The taste is deeper now, as if the day had thickened its notes and offered them to you. Voices speak in low tones that trust silence to return. A scarf is folded and set on a chair back. A newspaper is creased, then creased again. A glass is refilled. A napkin is placed across a knee. Rituals gentle the hour and invite the body to follow. A cyclist glides past with a small light at the handlebar, a polite star moving at the speed of thought. The rider turns into a side street and disappears between walls that still hold a little warmth. The night will be kind here. You think back through the day. The market's warm grammar of bread and cheese. The potter's wheel turning clay into form by degrees. The cafe's soft murmur holding space for conversation, and quiet to share a table. The canal's green line giving shade and pace to people who choose to move gently. You notice how each act answered the land. Flour to bread, milk to cheese, clay to vessel, water to path, trees to shade. Each gesture was a bond with place, a quiet agreement between material and habit. You walk toward your door, wherever it is tonight. Stones are cool. The sky keeps a last band of apricot at the roofline. In a window, someone waters geraniums and turns the pot so the leaves can meet tomorrow. Small tasks become a farewell to the day. Inside, you set bread and cheese on a small table. You pour water into a glass and hold it for a moment, feeling the way the day asks nothing more of you than attention. You sit and the chair accepts you. You eat with no ceremony beyond gratitude. Your hands carry the day's faint traces, a dusting of flour at a knuckle, a memory of clay in the lines, a thread of herbs if you rub your fingers together. These are not marks. They are the day's way of saying, you were here. You imagine the square settling, the cafe folding its awning like a closed book, the canal keeping its cool sentence under the night. The kiln cools another degree. Flour waits in sacks. Milk becomes tomorrow's offerings. Cyclist will wake and choose the shade. The baker will rise and open the oven. The potter will center clay and listen for the exact speed of stillness. Your breath matches the pace that held you. Inhale, the length of a towpath between plane trees. Exhale, the length of a lane between market stalls. Inhale, the turn of a wheel. Exhale, the curve of a bowl. The rhythm of daily life moves into you and makes a room. You keep only what is light. Bread warm in your palms, cheese wrapped and patient. Water on your lips, leaf light under plane trees, the soft murmur of a cafe that knows how to sit. You lie back in that small store of gentleness and do nothing with it. You let it keep you. Morning will arrive with the same kindness. The square will open. Awnings will unfold. The wheel will turn. The shade will gather. The path will be there. For now, you let the day rest inside you, most of it already reordered into ease. The human element is not noise here. It is the slow pulse of care moving through hands and places and returning as rest. Evening has learned your pace. The day loosens its hold, thread by thread, and carries you toward a softer hour. You keep the warmth of bread, the curve of a bowl, the calm of water. Twilight opens like a door you have always known. You walk through it without hurry. The light lowers, gentle and exact. The world chooses fewer colours and makes each one kinder. The air grows more intimate. The landscape, still familiar, begins to whisper in tones that lean toward rest. You return to Provence in time to greet the last light. The fields spread their quiet purple to the horizon. The rows breathe in long, even lines. A path rises between cypress and stone. A wall holds the day's warmth as if saving it for you. You place your palm on it and feel heat drawn through stone, through skin, into bone. The sun has lowered to an angle where everything forgives itself. Lavender darkens by a shade. Gold slides toward apricot, then rose, then the first thought of violet. You step gently between two rows. Blooms reach your waist, their small bodies tender and sure. You brush them with your knuckles and the air answers. The fragrance is full now, almost tangible. Lavender and the faintest breath of time gather close. The heat of the day has softened, and in the softening scent becomes true and round. It seems to hold the hour in place. You stand and let the colour expand inside you. Purple deepens toward blue. The sky receives the day's last fine lines and lets them dissolve. A farmhouse rests in the near distance. Its walls have turned from pale stone to a quiet honey. A few open shutters keep watch over nothing urgent at all. The rows run long and level, a sea made of calm plants. The light lies on them in ribbons. Where it leaves, shadow takes the shape of hush. You kneel and press your palm to the thin soil. Warmth returns your touch as if you had spoken a gentle word to the ground. Small stones hold what the sun gave them and give it back slowly. You lift a sprig and look closely. Each tiny flower folds into the next, a methodical sweetness. Your fingers come away with a dusting of perfume you do not need to name. The world holds stillness in a way only evening understands. Even the breeze seems to pause to read the light. You watch the horizon soften. Apricot thins to peach, then to a delicate wash that cannot be separated from sky. A line of hills lies like a deep breath at the edge of sight. The final colours of sunset fade over the lavender fields. A last strip of rose gives way to violet, then to a blue so tender you barely notice its arrival. You do not chase it. You let it come. Cypress hold their dark greens like quiet sentinels. Olive leaves turn their silver undersides and catch what is left of the day. Their small gleam looks like a memory choosing to stay. You breathe in. The air is intensely fragrant and still. You breathe out. Your shoulders drop in a way that feels like home. Light folds into the rose. Purple becomes a soft idea of purple. The ground warms your knees through the fabric of evening. You stand and look once more at the wide field. You're the height of a single stem and the width of a path. It is enough. A star thinks of appearing, then decides to wait. The sky keeps its smooth surface. Night assembles itself carefully. You walk back along the pale path. The wall stays warm. The house keeps its modest face. The field holds its promise for morning. You carry the lavender's final light with you, the way you might carry a small book in a pocket. It is a quiet weight. It feels right. Without changing your breath, you find yourself in Paris, where evening has a particular way of sitting down beside you. Stone steps lead to the river. The Seine moves like a thought that has nothing to prove. You descend to the quiet bank and choose a place near the water's edge. The stone is cool. You sit and it accepts your shape. The river holds its long line in front of you, darkening from slate to soft ink. Early evening gathers its lights. Lamps along the quay wake one by one, each offering a modest circle of honey-coloured calm. The first windows warm behind their glass. Their reflections tremble and lengthen. You watch the soft, blurred reflections of the city lights begin to appear on the dark water. Gold becomes ribbon, white becomes soft coin, blue becomes a deep seam that holds the others in place. Bridges span the river with a grace learned over centuries. Their arches are modest gestures in stone. The water accepts them and writes them again in ripples. Trees along the bank turn into gentle lace. Plane leaves, now shadow, move without asking for attention. Their forms are enough. You draw your knees a little closer and rest your forearms there. Your breath aligns with the pace of the river. The city does not ask you to be anything except present. A book lives in your pocket, unused. You're reading the water, the light, the measured geometry of dusk. There is no need for paper. A moored boat settles into its ropes as the day changes registers. The deck plants are silhouettes. A chair stands patient, as if invited to join the river's conversation. You look down the bank and see a few others spaced like commas. A person alone. Two figures sharing a small invisible story. There is room for everyone inside this easy grammar. Light deepens. The water grows more opaque and in that opacity more honest. Reflections are looser now, longer, more forgiving of edges. You lift your eyes to a bridge and think of the footfalls that have crossed it, day after day. None allowed now. What remains is the bridge itself and the water it keeps company with. A breath of evening passes along the stone, smoothing the last warmth from the day. It smells of a river and a hint of rain that may not come. Paris wears twilight as if it were tailored to its quietest measures. You watch a barge drift by without haste. A lantern glows on its bow like a secret repeated gently. The light paints an oval on the water and then erases itself. Buildings along the Eel settle into soft contrast. Rooflines find their shadows. A tower rises and chooses not to be grand, just present. You prefer it this way. On the far bank, a bookshop keeps its door open a little longer than necessary. The small rectangles of its shelves show in layers behind the glass. Someone turns a page inside. You imagine the sound and then let it go. You watch, and the watching becomes a kind of being. Paris gives you not spectacle, but permission. Stone, water, light. Enough. You let your gaze fall back to the river. The Seine carries the day away without rush. Its surface is a memory keeper with a patient hand. You place your palm flat on the step beside you. Cool, smooth, real. A reassurance that nothing needs to be held to be yours. Your eyes drop half closed and open again. The line of the quay, the bridge's curve, the wavered lights, all return as if they had been waiting for you to blink. Night comes here like a book closing with care. Paragraph by paragraph, the page becomes calm. You're not leaving the story, only resting inside its last lines. You stand slowly and give the water a last look. The river answers by continuing. That is its way of saying goodbye. The city remains gentle behind you. You carry its reflections on the inside of your eye, a soft lantern you do not need to set down. France turns you toward the ocean next, to a coast that understands the wide vocabulary of twilight. A path through dunes brings you to a deserted beach in Brittany. Sand holds the day's last faint warmth at the surface. Grass writes small lines in the air and then rests. The Atlantic lies long and low, a sheet of pewter softening toward pearl. The horizon is a calm, dark seam. You step onto wet sand that shines like a quiet mirror. The last light softens over the ocean. It lets go of colour by degrees. Apricot fades to pearl. The blues choose deeper keys. Silver finds the edge of every small wave and lays a thin thread there. You walk at the tide line and keep pace with the evening. Your footsteps leave ovals that fill slowly. The foam remembers their shapes and then forgets them. You're glad it forgets. Granite headlands hold the ends of the bay steady and tender. A lighthouse far off leans a white shoulder into the dusk. It is enough to know it is there. You stoop to pick up a shell. It rests in your palm like a small ear. Its inside holds a colour the day did not use anywhere else. You return it to the place it knows. The beach is quiet in the way that makes your own quiet find you with ease. You breathe, and the line of sea breathes with you. Neither of you needs to try. Dunes behind you keep their soft, dim shape. Heather remembers its purple in a whisper. The air tastes clean. Salt is a kindness on your lips. You turn toward the water and give it your attention. It answers by showing you what the sky is doing, translated into small grammar. The last light leaves the higher clouds, then the middle, then the low. The mirror in front of you studies each departure and makes it gentle. You step into the thin water and feel coolness climb your ankles. The sand shifts and holds at the same time. The sea is not cold. It is precise. You stand there and watch the ocean accept the evening. It does so without drama, as if this were simply the next breath. A line of seaweed curves along the beach like a careful sentence. Pebbles gather in small commas of colour. A piece of driftwood points toward nothing in particular. You walk again, slower now. The beach lengthens, then shortens with the headland's tilt. Your shadow disappears. Your body is scaled to the hour. The last light gathers itself into small gifts and gives them away. A silver edge arcing toward you. A mauve band low on the horizon. A faint green-grey in the angle where foam slides back. You catch each and let each pass. You find a dry patch above the tide line and sit. Sand gives, then holds. You sink a little into its comfort and place your hands behind you. The angle of your spine finds its gentle place. The sky is now a calm field. No colour insists. The ocean continues to deliver thin, deliberate lines to the shore and retrieve them. Even the retrieval is kind. You look down the beach and see it empty in the good way, the way that makes room for your breath to lengthen further. You're held by space. You lower onto your side and rest your head on your forearm. The sand is cool at the surface, warmer just below. The longer you are still, the more it agrees with you. You close your eyes halfway and open them again. The ocean remains where you left it. You're not missing anything by letting your lids grow heavy. Night does not fall here. It unfolds. The ocean receives it and does not resist. The land receives it and becomes simple. You sit up again, gently, and draw your knees close. The beach carries no urgency. You feel none either. You stand and walk back the way you came along a fresher line of wet sand. The shore gives you back to the dunes, and the dunes give you back to the path. You keep the shoreline in your peripheral vision as you move. Silver, then pewter, then a soft, living dark. The Atlantic remains honest and sure. 3 places now hold you at once. The lavender field where twilight grew fragrant and still. The river where lights drew gentle stripes on the evening. The beach where ocean and sky agreed to soften together. You let them braid themselves into a single, quiet corner. A place made of scent, light, and wide breath. Lavender offers its final sweetness into the night. Stone keeps a residual warmth for your hand if you need it. In Paris, one more lamp opens a small circle on stone. The river holds it as a line and carries it forward. In Brittany, the shore sets its long table for stars. You stand within all 3, as if they were rooms in the same house of evening. Each room knows you. Each recognises the pace of your steps and the quality of your silence. You return to Provence in thought just to touch the air again. The field answers with a fragrance that has nothing to do with memory and everything to do with presence. You lean your shoulder to the wall, heat remains, the rows rest. You slip back to the Seine. Stone meets skin. Water writes and rewrites the city's lights, never tiring of the task. Your breath is as even as the river's slow current. It is easy to be here. You revisit the beach. The last silver has fled from the water. The first stars begin. The horizon is a straight kindness. You imagine walking forever and know you do not need to. You gather these corners and shape them into a small, luminous bundle you can carry with you into sleep. They require nothing but attention and offer nothing but ease. You're almost ready for rest. The world has done its part. Your body knows the way from here. If you choose, you can sit again by the river on your way home through the evening. A bench waits with its own soft geometry. The city keeps its voice low. Your eyes hold the gleam of bridges. If you prefer, you can stop once more at the edge of a lavender row and let the purple rise around your knees. The scent will be there. The field will not move. The sky will be kind. Or you can turn toward the Atlantic in your mind and listen to the sight of it. Lines arriving, lines leaving. The most patient handwriting in the world. You place your hand over your heart and feel the day settle. The beat is slower. The edges of thought loosen. Rooms you have visited dim their lamps. You lie down wherever you are, and the place accepts you. Bed, blanket, night air at the window. All of it is part of this country now. Lavender dark beneath a violet sky. stone keys with gentle halos of light, a silver seam where ocean meets dusk. They linger at the edges of vision like protective charms. Your breath lengthens again, in, out. The pattern has always been there. Evening has simply tuned it. You let the last of your attention rest on something small, a single bloom near your knee, the exact oval of light on water, the smooth curve of a shell in your palm. One thing is enough to carry you over the threshold. Darkness deepens, and you feel no difference between yourself and the hour. The night is not empty. It is full of the day, softened and arranged for sleep. Lavender's calm, the Seine's long line, the Atlantic's gentle edge. Together they make a cradle. You close your eyes. The river continues to be a river. The ocean continues to be an ocean. The field continues to be a field. You do not need to hold them. They hold you. Your jaw loosens. Your face unfurls. Your hands grow warm, then pleasantly heavy. The language of twilight has done what it came to do. You drift. Not away from France, but further into it, to a quiet corner made of scent, light, and tide, exact, unhurried, and yours. The last colours have faded, the first stars are small and kind. Your breath is the most reliable thing in the room. Let it carry you. Let the country dim around you. Let night take the form of lavender, water, and sea. Sleep waits like a bench by the river, like a warm stone by the field, like a smooth patch of sand above the tide. You're ready. The evening has finished its work and placed you carefully where rest begins. Night settles like a soft hand over the country. You are ready to be quiet. The last colours of evening have folded into a gentle dark. You carry the day as a light bundle, and even that begins to loosen. You stand once more at the edge of the lavender fields. The sky above Provence is clear and deep. The stars are bright and countless, as if someone has opened a hidden door in the sky. The air is still and fragrant, and the scent of lavender is full and kind. You breathe in, and the perfume is a soft curtain around you. You breathe out, and your shoulders let go another measure. The rows are now a dark, tender pattern across the land. You see the pale edge of a farmhouse wall, holding the last of the day's warmth. You touch the stone with the back of your fingers, and the warmth answers you. The fields are quiet, and the quiet is generous. The sky is a roof, and you are safe beneath it. You tip your face toward the stars, and they seem nearer than before. Your breathing is slow and even. You feel the earth under your feet as a steady friend. Nothing asks anything of you now. You walk a few steps along the pale path and then stop. You listen to the stillness and discover that it has shape. The night has weight in the gentlest way. You feel held by it. A low, distant chime drifts from a clock in the valley. The sound is soft and far, and it arrives like a memory. It tells you that time is moving without you needing to move at all. You accept this and feel yourself soften further. You turn toward the farmhouse and step inside. The walls are thick and kind. A small window holds a square of stars. A linen duvet lies open on a simple bed. You slip beneath it and feel the cloth welcome your skin. The linen is light and cool at first touch. It warms in a moment and becomes a second, softer air. You let your body spread into the bed like water settling into a bowl. The mattress supports you without question. Your head finds the pillow, and the pillow learns your shape. You inhale through your nose and catch the quiet thread of lavender again. It is a soft line through the night. You follow it to the place where thinking eases and feeling remains. Your forehead smooths, your jaw releases, your tongue rests softly against the roof of your mouth. Your neck becomes heavy in a pleasant way. Your shoulders slide down and away from your ears. Your arms rest, and each hand finds a gentle curve. Your chest rises and falls without effort. Your belly softens under your breath. Your back meets the bed with full trust. Your hips settle and stay. Your legs find their weight and offer it to the mattress. Your calves relax and your ankles loosen. Your feet uncurl and become quiet. You are safe in this room. You're safe in this night. The dark is kind here. The air is clean and still. A faint breeze traces the stone and goes to sleep. Somewhere outside, the lavender holds the stars like tiny mirrors. You let that image rest behind your eyes. Your breathing is even, and each breath is longer than the one before. You count one long inhale and one longer exhale. You feel the space between them widen. You do not have to fill it with anything. You allow yourself to drift just at the surface of sleep. You notice thought turning into image and image turning into soft light. You're not doing this. It is happening to you kindly. If you wish, you may be in Paris now. You sit by a window in a quiet apartment, high enough to see the gentle roof lines. The city is hushed and affectionate at this hour. A single lamp warms a corner like a small sun. The window is slightly open, and the curtains lift and fall in slow breaths. You hear far away the tender chime of a clock tower that has never needed to hurry. The sound arrives, and then it is gone, and you're softer for it. You turn toward the bed and find the same linen duvet, light and sure. You slide into it as if into a familiar story. The sheets are smooth and cool, and they hold a faint scent of lavender and clean stone. Your body recognizes this and feels at home. You lie on your side and feel your spine lengthen. Your arm finds a comfortable line. Your knees rest in a simple curve. Your breath becomes the smallest tide. You're aware of your heartbeat, calm and regular. You notice the silence between beats and trust it. Your eyelids grow pleasantly heavy. The apartment is a safe, small world. A shelf of books watches without judgment. A glass of water keeps a circle of light on the bedside table. The city outside is wrapped in its own sleep. You hear only the gentle arrangements of an old building settling into night. You let them pass like soft clouds. You let your thoughts pass in the same way. They arrive and dissolve. They leave no mark. You are held by this room. You are held by this bed. You are held by the night. You could return to the farmhouse if that feels truer. The walls know how to keep a steady cool. The beams above you feel like old hands. The moon chooses a thin path across the floor. You breathe and let your chest rise and fall beneath the linen. The fabric answers with a whisper of warmth. You feel the weight of the duvet as a quiet reassurance. It is just enough. It is perfect. You recall the lavender field and the dark rose like gentle waves. You recall the river and its slow reflections. You recall the Atlantic and its long, even breath. They're all here with you in the simplest way. They are now textures inside your rest. You do not need to travel to hold them. You only need to breathe. Your breathing is slow, and your mind hears nothing but the rhythm of that slowness. Inhale, and you feel your ribs widen. Exhale, and you feel your body grow heavier and kinder. Your face is entirely at ease. Your mouth is soft. Your throat is open and clear. You could imagine the stars above the farmhouse roof. You could imagine a small square of sky above the Parisian courtyard. You could imagine both and be in both. The stars do not argue with the city. The city does not argue with the field. Everything is allowed at this hour. Everything is resolved by rest. You listen for nothing and hear it. The country is profoundly silent under the stars. The silence has layers and depth. It is not empty. It is full of peace. You turn your head a little and the pillow welcomes the new angle. You feel the bed under your shoulder blade and your hip. You feel the duvet along your back like a line of soft light. You sink another small degree and then another. You feel yourself becoming quiet as a stone in a warm wall. You are safe. You are safe. You are safe. The words repeat until they become breath. A faint chime sounds far away again, and you let it mark a longer exhale. You imagine it crossing the lavender and pausing at your window. It is the lightest touch of time. It passes, and you are deeper than before. Your hands are warm now. Your feet are warm now. Your center is warm and calm. You feel the linen against your arms, smooth and weightless. You feel the edge of the duvet along your shoulder, the perfect measure of cover. You release your cheeks and the small muscles around your eyes. You release the space behind your eyes. You release the back of your tongue. You release your chest and the space around your heart. Your heart continues quietly, steady and sure. You release your abdomen and let it rise and fall without shape. You release your back and imagine it resting like a wide leaf on the bed. You release your pelvis and the muscles that protect it. You release your thighs and the places where they meet the bed. You release your knees and imagine their hinges melting into softness. You release your calves and the long lines of your shins. You release your ankles and the tops of your feet. You release your toes one by one without effort. There is nothing to fix. There's nothing to hold. There is only the night and your breath. The air smells faintly of lavender, and the scent is a lullaby without words. It touches the room and then touches you. It becomes part of your inhale. It becomes part of your exhale. You are deeply at ease. You could picture the stars again if you wish. They are bright and small, and they appear to be placed just for you. They do not blink. They simply exist in their ancient stillness. They teach your body the shape of stillness. You follow them without moving. You follow them inside your breath. You lie quietly under the linen and let the bed learn your weight. It remembers you with each passing minute. It holds you in the same place, without pressure, without demand. You trust it completely. The room darkens by a shade, and then by another. Your attention becomes soft and wide. Your thoughts drift like slow boats on a night river. They turn into gentle reflections and then into a dark that is not dark at all. It is the soft interior of rest. If you're in Paris, the city holds you with the same tenderness. The apartment feels smaller, and smaller is kinder. A faint light from a street lamp lays a pale shape on the floor. You love the smallness of it. You love the privacy of it. You're a small and complete world under this duvet. Your breath is a tide at low water. You feel the cool of the sheet on your ankle. You feel the warmth of the duvet around your hips and chest. You let your neck release, and your head grows heavier in the nicest way. Your mouth opens a little with no need to speak. You swallow once and feel the ease of that simple act. Everything is ordinary and perfect. The night moves like a slow hand across a calm map. It touches the countryside and the river and the coast. It touches your room and your eyes. It makes each thing simpler. It makes your rest deeper. You have done enough for this day. You have been held by fields and water and sky. You have been fed by light and shade and quiet craft. You can put the day down now. You can set it gently on the bedside table like a glass of water. You can return to it tomorrow if you need to. You do not need to now. The lavender remains at the edge of your breath. The far clock keeps a kind count of the hours. The stars keep their patient watch above roofs and rows. The linen keeps your warmth and returns it in soft circles. You're held on every side. You're held from above and below. You're held from within. Your breathing is slow. Your breathing is steady. Your breathing is enough. When a thought arrives, you nod and let it pass. When a memory arrives, you nod and let it pass. When nothing arrives, you rest inside that nothing. You're floating on a wide, quiet lake that is also your bed. You do not need to swim. You're carried. You're carried easily. You feel the moment before sleep like the smallest door opening. It opens with no sound and no effort. You're already on the threshold. You're already through it. You notice the last of the room's details loosen and blur. You notice your awareness becoming light. You notice that noticing has become too much work. You stop noticing and keep breathing. You sink a little more. You sink as a leaf sinks in still water. You sink as a stone settles in warm sand. You sink into a place that has been waiting for you all day. It is soft. It is quiet. It is yours. The clock in the distance speaks once and is gone again. You send your exhale to meet it. You feel the small relief of the next inhale arrive without asking. You feel the long sweetness of the next exhale. Your face is peaceful. Your body is at rest. Your mind is dim and kind. If you prefer, feel the farmhouse again. Let its stone keep you, old and sure. Let the window keep a square of night. Let the duvet keep your warmth. If you prefer, feel the apartment again. Let the city keep its soft edge. Let the curtains breathe slowly. Let the bed hold you like a sentence that has reached its gentle period. You're safe in both places. You're safe in every place you have been tonight. Safety is the simple condition of this hour. Rest is the simple action. Sleep is the simple gift. You receive it now. You receive it as the night receives the fields. You receive it as the river receives the lights. You receive it as the ocean receives the last colour. You glide down as if on a slow tide. You drift as if on a current that knows your name. You are lighter than thought and heavier than stone. You are exactly as you need to be. Your breath continues like a trusted companion. Your body trusts it and rests. Your mind trusts it and lets go. You do not need to do anything. You do not need to try. You do not need to listen. You do not need to answer. You do not need to remember. You do not need to forget. You simply sleep. You sleep like a field under stars. You sleep like a river under bridges. You sleep like a small room under linen. Everything is quiet now. Everything is gentle now. Everything is easy now. Your breath is the only motion, and even it is quiet. The lavender is the last small thought, and even it is simple. The clock is far, and even it is kind. The night is full, and even it is soft. You are safe. You are warm. You are loved by the places that held you. You are loved by the hour that holds you now. You are asleep.